Sorry for the loss. The season has been tough for you guys. What do you think was the problem today?
I think one of the main reasons why today we fell a little short, I think some of the guys. Well, first of all, I want to say that 100 Thieves played amazing. I think tactically they were very strong. We kind of knew what they were going to do, so we didn't get caught off guard by how they were doing what they do. They were just shooting some shots. I mean, EIU's a beast. He was destroying us. Bustio had an insane first map as well. So, credit to those guys individually. So I don't want to overthink or think like oh, we played so poorly. There's some times that another team just plays so damn good that you can't do anything to overcome that situation. But overall, I felt like the things that we could have done a better job is some of the things that we missed out. Like we do in practice, even though we've had a limited amount of practice. I think that we need a little bit more proactivity and communication from our block, which unfortunately is some of our new guys, which don't have that much experience, like even Paula, Rich. Like, if we definitely miss a little bit of the communication and that fire that they had, especially during training and the first game they played together. But at the end of the day, it's to be expected. They are players that have a lot of growing to do, and they're going to continue to grow. So it's something that we're going to take this loss. It's very, very unfortunate that we lost, of course, but we're going to try and learn our best from it and make sure that individually as a team we improve, but also, or as a team we improve, but also individually we fine tune some of these things that we're finding out that we're trying to replicate in practice, and our job is to replicate that on stage. And I think that some of our communication, some of our micro plays, some of our finalizations of the rounds were a little bit off, and that came from communication. So it's more of finding out how we can improve that and make our training to match more consistent. That way, we know what we practice every day. We can replicate in the match. I think that was something that we lost out on a little bit today. But again, credit to 100 Thieves. Those guys were playing
Yeah,
insane. I think EU was like 19-2
yeah,
in the first half of split. Boosty was like 15-5. I mean, at the end of the day, tactics, communication, all that goes out the window when someone's just headshotting you every single time you turn a corner.
yeah.
So much credit to those guys and how they played today.
Yeah, talking about the team, this was only the second game you played as a new team. The new team played together. But during the first game, you guys looked really well, especially the new guys. They were hitting shots, and it felt like you could have won the game against Loud. Uh,
Hmm.
this new team, what was the idea behind bringing in two new faces which have limited experience, stage experience, and making them play? Since you are now head coach, what was the idea behind forming this team? Was this plan for this split, or you are planning for a longer run where you would want to get better results in the next split and start preparing for it the next year and start preparing for it right now?
Yeah, I mean, starting 0-5 in the first split was we had like it was impossible or nearly impossible for us to even make playoffs. I mean, if we would have won out, we would have had to expect a lot of luck. So um, it's hard to go into the second split 0-5 and say, look, we're going to win every single game and we're going to hope for a miracle just to qualify to playoffs, because that's what would have happened. So I think the organization, as well as myself, we made this decision, or the organization made the decision to make some changes on the coaching staff, on the players, and everything like that to kind of look forward to the future. We understand that some of these players are inexperienced, but at the same time, um, experiences and everything. Look at guys like Demon One, like they had no experience and they ended up being the best player in the world last year. So experience can sometimes be overrated, especially from the player's perspective. It's more important, I think, that IGLs and coaches have that experience to be able to pass on that knowledge to the younger players. So I think what you're seeing now in Valorant is a wave of young talent
Hmm.
that's absolutely insane and talented. And I think that those kids deserve a chance to prove themselves on stage. Of course, there's going to be bumps along the way. It's all a learning process, but I think the goal for us is to win games, win maps, and use this stage as an evolution for the players and to create a new identity and a new structure for ourselves, so we can, come out next year swinging. Obviously, like I said, we knew that it was going to be a tough situation for us to even make the playoffs, even if we won out. So the focus for us is for the long run and to focus on the evolution of these players individually.
Yeah, talking about just the how your team is looking. It's looking really nice. There are signs of brilliance despite the losses. But I want to talk about how you guys started the year, where you guys started the year really well. You guys were one of the top teams in kickoff and missed out by a very small margin for qualifying for Madrid. And then coming to split one, you guys didn't look like the same team. What do you think happened between the small time frame that you guys, or what changed during those few months where you guys just went from being one of the best teams to not playing up to the par.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things that were happening to a lot of the Brazilian teams. It
Yeah,
happened a little bit to Loud so much. It happened to Freer a lot, of
yeah,
course, and happened to us a lot. I think everyone was focusing so much on practice, training as much as we can,
yeah,
maybe training too much, saying, "Oh, we're playing 6 days a week. We're playing a whole bunch of practices."
yeah,
Um, but if we can't replicate what we do in practice on stage, then we're never going to have success, no matter how
yeah,
much you play. And I think that that was our biggest problem with the last team. Maybe the pressure or maybe the expectations of how well we played affected some of them in the sense that they had this pressure on stage that it was just hard for them to overcome
yeah,
and feel these situations when there is that kind of pressure. It's a little bit different with these new guys on this
yeah,
split because they don't have that experience or that past stuff. But at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to how we practice and how we can replicate that in the matches. And I
yeah,
think that we didn't do a good job of that today. And going back to your question, I think that we did a poor job of that in the split where we were practicing really good. We were making sure we're correcting our mistakes, coming in with
yeah,
a good game plan, good structure, everything. And then for whatever reason, things would just choke. I think in split one with the old roster, you would see some really amazing rounds for
yeah,
us, and then you see some really bad rounds for us. Or you see like the first 20, 30 seconds of a round beautifully played, and then the last 10, 15
mm,
seconds we play like crap. So I think it was finding that sort of consistency, being okay with boring games. I
yeah,
call it boring games are games that take a long time. You might go into overtime. So I think that we have to find that sort of comfort and kind of understand the rhythm of the game that slows down every step you go from rank to scrims to matches. It all
mm,
slows down, slows down. So you got to be comfortable with that sort of boring style of playing because everyone's playing with pressure behind them.
yeah,
The other team has just as much pressure as we have. So it's just an understanding of that and replicating, and we did a poor job of that.
yeah. Uh, what would be the plan for the next two games you have left with the split? What would be the goal of these games? What would you as a coach would be looking to achieve in those two games?
Our goal doesn't change.
Yeah,
We're in this pursuit of evolution and we're in pursuit of victories. So, regardless of us being, not able to make the playoffs or whatever, we're here to evolve as a unit. We're here to try and win games,
mm,
and we're going to give it all we can to do that, regardless of if we're out or not. I mean, look how we were in kickoff. Once we lost one
yeah,
map to G2, we were technically out, but we still ended up beating them. I think it's just something that for us, we have a lot of pride in the way that we work. We
yeah,
represent a brand that's great. We represent a country that's fantastic when it comes to
yeah,
FPS. So we're here to represent our families, our country, and everyone.
yeah,
This is not a time to feel bad or anything like that. It's
mm,
time to focus and try and win games regardless of where we sit in the standings.
yeah. As a coach and who has been a player who has a long history in sports, obviously losses are tough. And you are a coach, you can see the bigger picture, you have the experience. But for the new guys, they must be taking the loss hard. How do you ensure as the coach that you give them enough energy that they continue, or not just trying for that win, but also learning from the losses and keep moving forward? Because obviously it's a long process. Winning is a long process. How do you do it as a coach? How do you inspire them, especially when the season is so tough?
Yeah. I think that one of the biggest things is, a lot of people have to be comfortable, not comfortable, not okay. I'm not saying it's okay, but they
Mm,
have to understand how to lose. You have to be able to
mm,
understand how to lose in order to win. No one just comes out and wins everything and always stays winning. Maybe some teams win and then they start losing and then they try and go back to winning. I think a lot of people have to understand how to react to losses. Right now we're taking a lot of them, so we have a lot of
yeah,
opportunities to try and rebound from that. But I think it's understanding that this is part of the process. 100 Thieves is a fantastic team. They won the
yeah,
first split, did a fantastic job in Shanghai. Um, it's going to be hard, no matter what. So I think that some of these young guys, Paula, Rich, Liaz has a little bit of
yeah,
experience with Furia, but some of those guys, they never even played these guys in a ranked game
yeah,
or in a scrim or anything like that. So they're understanding how talented some of the other players are. They need to I'm not saying that they're overconfident, but they need to, humble themselves and understand that there's a ton of really good players, and especially in NA, it's probably one of the regions with the most, like the deepest talent pool. There's thousands and thousands of players in this region that are fantastic. And they have to understand that it's just a whole different game. Um, so I think understanding how to accept losses and learn from them, and also understanding the speed and the rhythm of games. Like I was kind of
Mm,
saying a little earlier, the game kind of slows down every step that you go,
mm,
and I think that that's a process that it's very hard to explain, but it's something that we have to go through. As a coach with a lot of experience, I
yeah,
try and do my best to explain these things, but you know, um, as a coach and even like a father now,
yeah,
sometimes it's hard. All I want to do is prevent these guys from failing, but
yeah,
sometimes they kind of have to fail in order for me to help them. It's
yeah,
kind of hard to prevent that sort of failure because they'll never understand what it's like to feel down. You can't just explain, oh, when you're going to take a loss like this, you're going to feel like crap. No, you need to actually live through this experience and know how to go through with it and bounce back. So I think it's more of me understanding their position and trying to adapt to make
yeah,
these situations for them to know that this is a very frustrating situation, but also be there to support them to take them out of this bad situation. So I'm gonna do my very best to lead by example with the guys, not only just say things to them. I think it's more of being an example, being
yeah,
positive, reviewing stuff, focusing on training, and focusing back on our team. And we're gonna do the very best that we can to do that. Like I said, we have a lot of pride and we want to represent
yeah,
country, our organization. So we have to be able to accept these kind of situations, feel bad about these situations, and then
yeah,
also bounce back and go for the future.
yeah. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, of course.
Uh, you are a Counter-Strike legend. You are a great coach in
Thank
Valorant,
you.
and we have seen sort of a pattern where in Valorant, a lot of young players, young rookies are given more opportunities. We have seen a lot of not just in Americas, like your not just with your team in particular, in Americas, in EMEA. However, we see a lot of youngsters getting a lot of chances in big teams, big established teams. But when it comes to Counter-Strike, we see a lot of times the youngsters have to play a longer for a longer time before they get a big break in a tier one team. Why do you think that is the way it is? Is there anything different between the games?
Mm, I don't really know if there's a lot much different. I think that it's maybe a different mentality. Like
Yeah,
when I started my career, I was 16 years old,
yeah,
and I became a major champion by 17.
yeah,
Demon One joined his first team, became a champion like that. I've always had this mindset that a new champion is born every day.
yeah,
Um, so in some way, I think a lot of people are understanding that these kids that they're coming up now, they're just so talented,
yeah,
and the upside to their skill level is so high that if people with experience can inject some of that experience in them and get them to understand how to play, and maybe over time they'll be much better than any veteran player.
yeah,
And the veterans might be better in a position to pass on knowledge and experience some of these young players who are just so gifted. I mean, you have players like Aspas, Demon One, like all these guys. I was playing professionally before they were even born.
yeah,
This is kind of where I'm saying it's like most throughout the history, a lot of these young guys,
yeah,
you'll see much more new champions than you'll see people winning again. It's very rare to see people who win multiple majors in
yeah,
CS in America. It was only my team that won that.
yeah,
Even some of the legendary CS teams, like they won some championships, they won the Grand Slam, but they never won majors. Even
yeah,
C9, when they won their major, they never replicated that success
yeah,
again. So I think it's all about trying to find I think a lot of organizations are figuring out that sometimes it's very hard to find success and it's even harder to replicate success.
yeah,
So it's more of giving people that opportunity to find that next fRoD, that next Aspas, that next Demon One,
yeah,
because those are the guys that can potentially win multiple times for many years to come. And I think that taking that risk is much worth it than trying to hope that a lot of veterans or a team full of veterans is going to be able to do something that they've not done in their last 10, 8 years in their career, right? So I think that the risk of finding young players that can become a champion and major champions and put a huge impact is probably much more common than you see veterans who hadn't won start winning out of nowhere when they're in their
yeah,
mid 20s, for example. So I think it's just people looking at the long term, not like the long game, and then also you seeing just some incredibly talented players. when you're looking at CS, guys like Dong, um, things like that. It's just like the talent level is crazy. And if you can find a way to put them in a good situation, put them in a team filled of experience, whether it's one or two players or coaches, I think you'll see that those guys are going to end up shining brighter than anyone in the world or anyone in history,
Mm,
just because these kids are coming in with some sort of talent that's never really been seen before or only had by some of the best players in the
mm,
history of esports. So it's all about trying to find that next person.
yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all the answers. And I hope you had a fun time. I had a fun time. It was a pleasure to meet you. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great, I mean, hope the plans come to succeed. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
Thank you so much as well. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.